Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So recently there was the tragedy in Vancouver, and I have to go by the annotations because of my condition. And it said in the annotation, "Sun Run," that it was something about a Filipino festival where it said it had something to do with the Sun Run. And I've connected a lot of these incidences together. Okay, so some of you might be wondering what's going on. If you don't know who I am, then you're confused about what's going on. What's going on in a nutshell is that if you're really a scholar when it comes to the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, okay, or you're an occultist who's done a lot of research, you know that Christ is back right now and that the miracles in the Bible are figurative. Bear with me here. A lot of people might think I'm mistaken, because they haven't done a lot of research here. The people who wrote the Bible were like ancient scholars in a sense. They're idiots. This is a story for another day. You see, Latin, okay, is said to be the language of scholars. I'm sure you've heard that. So there's a bunch of people in kind of secret societies, cults, what have you, who do a lot of research and they use a lot of wordplay. In fact, the word gospel is a play on words for go spell. Bible, Bible. Okay, Torah is Harat scrambled and Quran is Koran scrambled. Or okay, run scrambled. Or okay, ran. And the word ran is like ram, and this is a long story why that is, okay? So by now you should see that, I'm saying things a lot of people hesitate to say or you've never heard before, what have you. So you should be taking this video pretty seriously by now unless you're an idiot, right? Okay. So where I live in the San Jose area in California, back in the day, the Filipinos here used to wear shoes called fila shoes. And it's kind of connected. It kind of is. In fact, I used to like those shoes even though I'm not Filipino. And I used to, wear them because, they kind of look good, right? And that has something to do with this, but not a whole lot. What has more to do with this is the sun is the symbol of the bridegroom, okay, in Psalm 19. And the bridegroom is also the champion. And Christ said he's the root and offspring of David and the bright morning star, which to the occult is Venus or Aphrodite, okay, who mixes with Hermes or Mercury to make Hermaphroditus. Okay, so again, Venus is the Roman equivalent of Aphrodite, who's the mother of Eros, where we get the word erotic desire. So Hermaphroditus, in a sense, can also be seen as an amalgamation or combination, which is the father of Eros, whose Roman equivalent is Cupid. And the word Cupid is the word, it rhymes with the word stupid for a reason. Because if you live based on erotic desire, like a horny little kid with no sense, what have you. So we see that Eros is a huge part of Western culture and it's become a huge part of many cultures. Some might argue that it's a huge part of cultures in general. I would argue that Eros refers to a specific Western flavor of erotic desire that we see so commonly in porn. We see it in, sex, drugs, and rock and roll and things pertaining to these. We see it in the movies, right? The action movies, the action heroes in action movies never make love. They never make love. Van Damme, Steven Seagal, what have you, Christopher Lambert, they have erotic desire-based sex where they show the viewers their tits quite often. They often show the viewers their butts. Okay, because of the LGBT occultists in Hollywood, and the word Hollywood is a play on words for holy wood, and hopefully a lot of you have at least heard that part, because I believe it was Jordan Maxwell who made that famous, and he was absolutely on the money there. He was right about that. As you can imagine, a lot of these people put out half-truths and misinformation. Unfortunately, Jordan Maxwell, from my calculations, is a disinformation agent to some degree. But he has been a very helpful person to a lot of people to help them understand what's going on nonetheless. So, speaking of that, let's just touch on that real quickly here. The Jordan part of Jordan Maxwell refers to Michael Jordan and also the Jordan area where Sodom and Gomorrah was by in the Bible. And Maxwell refers to the singer Maxwell to some degree. Okay, whether or not he meant to do it that way, he's connecting it to things that connect to these things. Okay, so Jordan Maxwell. Now, what happens if you put Maxwell, who is a mulatto like I am, who's part Nigerian and part white, with Michael Jordan, who's this awesome athlete, right? You get somebody who looks a lot like me. However, neither of them are martial artists, but that doesn't matter because Christ is a warrior, right? Is the heavenly warrior defeats the beast, Revelation 19. Now, I want to make this brief here. I don't have a lot of information in regards to the massacre because I'm trying to get this video out there as soon as possible. I'd like to get the videos out there as quickly as I can since it helps me get more views. And here is one of the few incidents that I don't have a lot of information right away. And it kind of saddens me that that's the case, but that's how it goes. But I haven't done the wordplay in Vancouver, Av and Couver and whatever. Cour is in there, meaning heart. There's a lot of connections there. What I find with the wordplay is it says what you would know already if you know what they're doing to me. Okay? It connects to things you know already in a way that pisses you off, but the missing piece is me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. The truth in the wordplay as well. The truth in the occult ritual that is taking place, which from what I gather is about screening me out, which they're probably going to do so pretty soon. Okay? Things have been very tense recently. However, for many years, things have been very tense. I have 23 witnesses to the psychological operation against me. Okay? They've caused me a lot of brain pain over time, fumed me and poisoned me. And I say this knowing that they try to play people like me out as something that I'm not, which is mentally ill. And a lot of these things seem like symptoms of maybe brain seizures, which is a brain disorder, as to be distinguished from a mental disorder, and maybe schizophrenia, what have you. And I've taken tests for these things to make sure I could rule them out, and I can rule them out at this point. So when we look at schizophrenia, you have to have, I believe it's 3 or more symptoms of the 5 things. One of them is disorganized thinking, and it's high levels of disorganized thinking. Like somebody talking completely crazy. Not somebody saying a theory or a fact that you don't like, but somebody saying things that just simply is absolute gibberish. And so it is with disorganized behavior, okay? And then there's hallucinations, and there's negative symptoms, okay? I don't have any of the symptoms of schizophrenia. I don't have auditory hallucinations or visual hallucinations. I don't hallucinate. I don't have delusions of grandeur or false beliefs. I don't have disorganized thinking, disorganized behavior. Okay, I don't have negative symptoms. I don't just sit there staring at the wall all day. I have tons of videos that overkills that. So I do not have schizophrenia, which is the most severe of mental illnesses. It is, even if someone has schizophrenia, it doesn't mean that they're wrong about things. But since I do not have that, and I've just proven that definitively here, if you've been paying attention, then my videos are to be taken seriously, whether you want to play me out as this, that, or the other thing or not. They have no viable counterargument. If you're in the mental health profession, if you're a psychiatrist, okay, please, if you think you have a counterargument, put it in the comments. There is no viable counterargument. People like to gaslight and oversimplify. Incidentally, the word gaslight is a play on words for gaze light. So what is going on there is they want the gaze light, the Luciferian light, instead of the sun, and I can't stress it enough. It's not just the left wing. And quite often, people who you might describe as straight are far more guilty than many people into the occult who are gang stalkers and everything, who you would describe as gay. Just because gays are involved doesn't mean as a group they're the most guilty. Look at society. Look at who's committing crimes and why. Okay, there's a bunch of evil people everywhere. I'm not gay myself, but it's not fair to the LGBT community to chop it up to they're just gay or something. I'm not going to tolerate that because it's falsehood and I deal in truth. Okay? The people who are doing this, no offense to anybody, are in the governing class, and they're best described as white and Jewish and LGBT, those 3 groups, and sometimes mixed together, 2 out of 3, what have you. No offense to those groups. There's a spectrum of guilt in everybody except for me, because I'm blameless, and as a long story why that is, see my Proof I'm Christ playlist. And there's a lot to be said about this thing that occurred. It's tragic. At this point, they said 11 people were killed. Can you imagine being killed, by being hit by a vehicle? I do think that the police should have created barricades. Anytime there's a major event, they should automatically have barricades to block any traffic, and they should have a police presence. And they should increase law enforcement funding for terrorist events in every country in the world. And also they should increase law enforcement funding in general, and they should address the societal ills that create certain states of mind that are conducive for making someone suggestible in regards to committing a horrific crime. I have a lot to say about this stuff. Right now, I'm a little bit ticked off at Gavin Newsom and Donald Trump for not cutting a huge check to end homelessness. Okay? And just really briefly, let me give you one of my plans. For $100 billion, they could build 1 million units in America. And right now here in America, we have a $37 trillion debt. Doesn't matter if it's 37 trillion or 37.1 trillion. And so it is when Donald Trump was adding 2.1 trillion to the debt every year, and the average, is like 1.7. Biden was adding quite a bit as well. Would it kill them to make it 1.8 instead of 1.7 or 2.2 instead of 2.1 just for 1 year? For 1 year to end homelessness. It's very irresponsible. They don't. California was running a $68 trillion deficit. Now they're saying they have a $17 billion surplus last I checked. Surplus or deficit? Would it kill you to cut a check for $10 billion? Okay? In California, the government here in California could do it. Instead, we have like 14 people or so, if I'm not mistaken, dying every single day from homelessness. In Los Angeles area alone, it's between 5 and 7. Every single day they die in the streets. There are like 100,000 children in the streets in America. And for that little move right there, they could solve that problem, and it would save a lot of lives. So how many of you want to tell me that I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist or something, and that the fact that Americans won't get together to pressure their government to cut the check to end homelessness and to make sure the FBI tracks the money, independent auditors track the money in real time, what have you, post, every day post videos about where the money's going, how much you spent and what you spend it on, and so on and so forth. Okay, they can do things like that to make sure that it's spent in a cost-effective way where there's transparency. The fact that the government won't do that, the fact that the people won't get together and pressure them to do that, how many of you can tell me that has nothing to do with these mass murders and mass shootings? It's connected in so many ways. It shows that life is cheap in America. So we've established that they have the means, motive, and ability. Because if their motive is to save lives, why aren't they saving these homeless people's lives? Why aren't they putting more money into law enforcement to save lives? They don't care about saving lives. And one way or another, that attitude that the population has, that attitude that the government has, which spills over into Canada and other places, is causing these mass shootings to occur. Like Joe Biden said, he said, why do these things keep happening disproportionately in America? Mass shootings, mass terrorist attacks, mentally ill people attacking a bunch of people. It has to do with behaviors, beliefs, sentiments, okay, emotions. It has to do with the psychological construct in the environment. So I urge you all to take these issues seriously. Crime, homelessness, morality, rape, child molestation, mass drugging, what's in the food, what's in the air. You're not taking it seriously enough. And you're playing your controlled opposite left-right paradigm games. People are dying, people are suffering right now, people are being raped all over the world. It's like nobody even cares. If all of you aren't going to care enough to stand for what's right as uncontrolled opposition, then what is your life worth? Maybe the right to kill you or something, so to speak, right? What is your life worth if you won't stand for what's right? That how you want to define yourselves and your families and your countries and your churches and your mosques and your synagogues and everything else? It is time to mobilize as peaceful and controlled opposition and put an end to this madness once and for all.